0. Hi, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog. And before we get started with our special guest today, I'm going to do a little broadcast housekeeping here a second. I have to do this every time to be sure that the broadcast goes completely public. There we go, coming on. My guest today is Mr. Erich Gail himself. Let's see here. I wish I was an Oscar Mayer winner. That's the only thing I want to be. There's what I'm looking for right there. Okay. Cast housekeeping here a second. Yeah. I have to do this every time. Working it right now. All right. Live. Gail himself. Why is that doing that? There's what I'm looking for right there. Okay, are we public? Yes, I believe we are. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, Mr. Erich Gail from the Cardinelli Group. Hello, Erich.
How are you, Jim? Happy New Year. Thanks so much for having us on today.
Thanks for being here. Now, first of all, tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, I have the privilege and blessing of being able to lead the Cardinelli Group of companies, Jim, which first and foremost consists of our Anchor Automotive Group, which is 22 stores located in the Western United States. We have brand partners in California, Arizona, and Nevada. Wonderful brand showcase. Our automotive group was founded in 1979, and in and amongst our transformation, our growth throughout many decades, we have continued to diversify our group to where we now own ZMOT, which is a dealer-to-dealer investment and performance improvement organization that works showcasing our disciplines and our marketing and our advertising technologies with dealers outside of our competing areas. Jim, and in the last few years, we've developed new organizations as well. One is called iConnect. The other is iSight, and we have a new addition, Exchange Value. All things with us developmentally have come from what serves us as the retailer first and foremost. If we find that there's a deficiency in the market for any reason, for anything that we want, and we go out and build it ourselves, what greater test bed or test track, if you will, is we'll break it, burn it, right, master it and perfect it ourselves. And if it's worthy then to go outside of our group and share that with other dealers outside of our competing areas, we do that as well.
Let me translate that into Ziegler speak a second.
Okay.
In case the audience missed it, the Cardinelli Group is the #1 e-commerce automobile dealer group in the world. They sell more cars with e-commerce than any dealer group, any single dealer, any entity, probably in the universe. If they sell cars elsewhere, Cardinelli is whipping their butt. Okay, just understand that. But the thing about it is they now are offering services to other dealers outside their market area.
Correct.
Where they are consulting and helping to implement these proven programs, high profitability, high volume. I mean, they're not giving up profitability to have volume, which is what I really admire about the Cardinelli Group. And their processes are ironclad. Ethical.
Jim, there's yes, and thank you. And there's something very critical that I think it's appropriate to share at this point. As the dealer, first and foremost, there are things that we just do not appreciate about how some of the service models are constructed. We understand why people do what they do, but I want to put the caveat in here that as an organization, Jim, we will only work exclusively with one owner, regardless of brand, regardless of the number of stores you have in one market. So it is by design meant to be a very singular dealer-to-dealer relationship to where those that we serve, just making up a city, for example, Minneapolis, if you are aligned with us and we to you, then we would not serve anyone else in that entire area. That's very, very particular and specific for us. And also we do such very confidentially. You don't ever see or hear white papers, or we never disclose, outwardly, right? We never disclose the men and women and families and owner groups that we serve, quite frankly, because that relationship is their advantage. right? If they've chosen to do that, if they've chosen to bring us in and align with us, and for us to be able to share how we've done business in our stores, we don't think the world necessarily needs to know that. So it's a very exciting way to work in our industry.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I know a number of dealers that you are working with, and I won't mention them. They've confided in me their numbers, and the numbers are unbelievable. I've seen the Cardinelli numbers because you share them in the events.
Sure. Yeah.
But the dealers you're working with, I've also seen their numbers. Some of them you met at my event.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's absolutely amazing to me that you are able in this market to produce the results you're producing. Now, one thing I said in the write-up about this, when did Cardinelli start? When did you begin?
Okay, 1979, we were founded by brothers Joe and Tom Cardinelli, still very active to this day. They are typically one of, if not the first through the door every morning. And both Joe and Tom are brothers. They're sons of Italian immigrants, and they were brought into the business really by their desire to want to build lives for themselves in their early 20s. And so, like many, scraped and scratched their way through and sold cars and new cars and wholesale and used cars and everything else, and kind of grew up. And one day, like many of the wonderful stories in automotive, they were given an opportunity, Jim, to acquire a then Oldsmobile Pontiac GMC franchise in Monterey, California, and getting together with their wives, they prayed about it, and they had that terrifying moment of saying, we're going to invest everything that we have for this one chance, and let's hope that that we are blessed and grateful with a wonderful opportunity. And they were. That was 1979, and throughout then, Jim, to your question, throughout the 80s and 90s and midway through the 2000s, what began with one store evolved to be greater than 12. And then the sad truth was, like many of us in the industry throughout the middle 2000s, we were all rich and good looking. And then the great purge came, the cement block that drove our face right into the pavement, and that was the economic crash of 08 and 09. And so for us, being great car guys and car women and wonderful in the business and developing amazing relationships, we were ill prepared for what came when the market shifted. And so in a very short period of time, Jim, an organization that was built on family values, that was built on developing an outstanding relationship, Jim, we had to part with 6 franchises, a few hundred associates. I mean, it is truly a gutting experience emotionally to have to go through that. Recognizing
in 2008, I personally lost $1 million, real money.
Sure.
I mean, when the economy, and that was checks we were writing back to the company.
Yeah. Yeah.
At one time, I had 40 employees and 6,000 feet of offices. And when the economy crashed, we crashed. I laid everybody off, shut the offices down. So, and all the dealers I was doing business with at that time were bleeding money out of every artery.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, what did you do?
I will share with you that as a God first and a Christ-centered company, Jim, it is truly by the grace of God, without question, that we exist today. There's no reason at all why we should have survived. We just hemorrhaged too much. We were too many things to too many people. The disciplines were wrong. We were a market-driven organization. No different than everyone at that time. When the market's up, what do we need? We need more things. We need more people. We need more stuff. And the truth of it is, when it was the absolute gutting of an industry culled in half, if not more, right? We, like many, we quite frankly bled out. And the truth of it is absolutely by the grace of God, Jim, that we exist. So we were given a second lease on life that presented itself in 2010. We were able to, one transaction at a time, be able to generate enough cash to survive barely. And then in 2010, given that second lease, Jim, it was time for us to take a hard look at ourselves and say, we don't have the depth, we don't have the capital, quite frankly, we don't have the disciplines to be able to survive anything like that again. So what are we prepared to do to ensure that never again are we subjected to the market? So I'm going to share with you that we developed a principle out of many of the Jim Collins books, okay? Good to Great, Great by Choice, How the Mighty Fall. And Jim, what we came away with was a commitment to being a management-driven organization. I want to share with you ever quickly what I mean by that. That is not just because I'm a manager, you do what I say. No, management-driven says that we will be the anti-market-driven company. If the market's up, we could care less. And the truth of it is because I don't need to chase something that softens our disciplines or puts us in a position where we're bloated. A management-driven organization says if the market's up or the market's down, we don't care. We will define our goals, our net to gross objectives, our profitability targets, and we will hit them because every single day we will be focused on what we said we're going to do. So I will share with you proudly, as an organization, we were up double digits last year and our net was up 25+% last year, even with the headwinds of what has already come from 18 into 19. And we're very excited about 2019. Very excited.
Good to know. Hey, we got some friends aboard here. We got Frank J. Lopes. You know that rascal?
I sure do. How are you, Frank? Thanks for joining today.
Yeah, Joe Calla.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Joe. Happy New Year.
And one of my buddies, Jake Leibowitz.
Jake, how are you, sir?
And yes, we're building up a little audience here right now, and everybody's helping us out. They're sharing the broadcast, I hope.
Okay.
So how the Cardinelli Group, #1 e-commerce dealer in the world, what does that mean?
Well, that's produced by Wards, and so how that's constructed, Jim, is that obviously we utilize a singular operation in which to be able to manage all of our digital retail, and so that is the way that we answer that number for them. But the long and the short of it, Jim, is whether it's #1, just to be on the list, just to have the kind of sales volume that we handle digitally, that is a digitally engaged buyer, right? Just to be on that list really does represent a very specific commitment to something that we consider selling our time. Jim, in our vocabulary, the word lead is a 4-letter word. We've stricken that word from our vocabulary. And the very reason for that is that in this day and age, can you imagine, other than if your strategy is to literally go out and purchase retread leads, can you imagine someone actually being a lead when they've gone as far as to look at the type of inventory that you merchandise, they click a direct action button, they ask you a specific question on a specific stock number? Are they really a lead?
A lead.
Or are they an absolute buyer? And the truth of it is, Jim, they are. It's no different than when you or I or your wife, Debbie, or anybody for that matter, reaches a point when they want what they want. They know why they want it. They know what they want. The only question is, where am I going to get it? That for us is called the zero moment.
We have just picked up Carrie Niskern and Max Clem.
Carrie, Max, how are you?
I know Max quite well. Hello, Carrie. Now, when you talk about lead generation, how much of your business are you buying
from the? Don't.
Oh, no! Wait a minute. No, Carrie, come on now. You're spending $6,000, $8,000 per store per month with Cars.com and Auto Trader and Gurus, and right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're just true.
No, I know that's such a great for you and I. That's such a great whipping stick, and the truth of it is, no. We invest 100%, and I should probably point out that as an organization, as an automotive group, we're a 100% digital organization. We don't put a stamp or anything that goes into the mail on anything. We are 100% committed to digital retail. And so all of our investments, Jim, of everything that we do is meant to work in connection with itself. It's integrated, right? So whether you're in search or social or video or reputation or inventory promotion, right? We want every dollar that we place to be one click directly into our stores.
Wait a second, Eric. Now this is Ziegler. I mean, come on. I mean, you couldn't be selling any volume with that philosophy and strategy.
Well, it kind of actually we do quite well, but it does go back to that frame of mind. Okay, you have to decide first and foremost, who are you? What business are you in?
Are
Okay?
you selling more than 100 units per location?
Oh, absolutely, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Month in and month out. Because when I was going back to earlier, because we don't prescribe to the leads categorization, Jim, the reason for that is because it becomes subjective. Okay. You're the manager, you come to me and say, where are we at on XYZ customer? Oh, Jim, that's a terrible lead. You know what that's called? That's called an excuse. It means that I didn't do what I was supposed to do, and this buyer went and bought somewhere else. And now I need to try to justify why I didn't do it. When you know that someone is a buyer, you will treat them specifically in our culture and in our philosophy. You'll treat them, Jim, like a guest in your home. And the only thing you can do on the telephone to a guest in your home is care for them and gracefully sell your time. You make available to them your time, the product, and give them an opportunity to experience it live, whether we take it to them or they come to us, right? That's how you care for someone. That's how you take that person who's at that zero moment and you help them finish what they've started. That's critical for us.
You help them finish what they started. I like that because
Correct.
I've always said my job as a sales professional, and I am a manager, but I'm also a sales professional. My job is to help them to make the decision they want to make.
Correct.
You
Correct.
know, and I have a theory that we have something called buyer's anxiety.
Okay.
Which means the closer they get to the decision, the harder they fight and resist the decision.
Well, I would challenge that. That's something that we do.
Go ahead and challenge that, please.
Okay, so you're correct, but the responsibility falls back to us. See, I would say that a man, a woman, a family, whatever the case may be, Jim, they've made their decision, correct? They're not disclosing that they've made their decision because we're a car dealer and they've been brought up under the assumption that if I share with you that I'm excited about something, you're going to take advantage of me. And the truth of it is, when you've come as far as to the store, yes, and we've done our job, we've cared for you, we've given you a wonderful presentation and a demonstration drive, okay? And we managed your expectation up front to where when we're done with those pieces and parts of the day, when we're done, let's come and sit down and figure out how we make this a reality for you, okay? And this is where if we flip into sales mode, trying to cram something in, okay, and didn't do it right in the first place by warmly and graciously welcome you as a guest in our home, we're the one that kick that anxiety up because it moves from something that was supposed to be, help me finish what I started, to now, okay, now before you go, Jim, I mean, it's 5,000 on the hood right now. I get you another 2,500 conquest. Pretty soon it's like too much. And that's the thing that people want to run away from. Okay. When you care for
me, not selling cars, they're selling deals.
I think that we're helping people. I mean, we are selling ourselves. We're selling a commitment. We're selling an experience that we believe you won't get anywhere else. Okay. Now, the truth of it is, Jim, as you well know, when everybody's family owned, everybody's lowest prices in town, everybody's number one sales volume, what's the differentiator? Okay. It's always going to come back to us, right? When you look at the motivations that people have to make a purchase, price is not number 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 5, right? It's all the other intangibles, things like experience, what did you provide for me? What are your value adds? You know, do I like the product? Do I identify with the specialist that I had? Price is a byproduct, okay? I think people already know what their general budget is, and that's fine. And we want people to fall in love and have an emotional connection to this.
Well, you know,
we
Eric,
have to share with them.
I know you quite well, and I might be playing the straight man, asking you questions to which I already know the answer.
I know. Now, you would never do that to me, Jim.
I might be pitching you some softballs here because
Right.
I know how good you are. I know how good your company is. But now let's express that to the audience. Hey, Brad Wise just showed up.
Hey, Brad.
Brad's with the Furman Group, one of my favorite people. Aaron Barfield, Kat Zuber. Kat, I don't know you, I don't believe. Okay,
Kat Zuber is actually a member of the Cardinelli Group, so that's
why I don't know her.
Thanks for coming on, Kat.
Okay, we got a pretty good little audience on the sidebar here. Yeah. Okay, Aaron Barfield. Yeah, they're all out there. So, if I was going to just tell somebody about the Cardinelli Group, somebody said Cardinelli Group, what would I say?
You would say that the Cardinelli Group is a family organization, not just in name, but in relationship. We are absolutely, Jim, fully committed in everywhere that we do business, whether as a dealer or working with our fellow dealers outside of our competing market areas. We are in the relationship business. We are a family organization that truly is committed. That's why we're branded every day. We are fully committed to our brand promise, which is known as the Cardinelli Way, that says, Jim, that we develop an outstanding, not a good enough, not a check the box, but a truly outstanding relationship where everybody wins. Everyone has to win. Now, part of that is that it gives us, Jim, something I think people lack, and that is the courage to say no, thank you. Okay? If it's not outstanding, it means that we have to go to work. And some people, sometimes in some environments, the work will not produce outstanding. And that could be a cultural difference. Now, you had mentioned earlier, you were very gracious and you said, I happen to know some of the groups that some of your companies, ZMOD as an example, are serving outside of our group, and that you're very impressed with their numbers. I would tell you, first and foremost, they've done all the work. What I mean by that is that we collaborate together, okay? But it is not us making something happen that they weren't fully committed to do. Because marketing and advertising, there's a legion of ways to do that. And there's no shortage of people that are really good at it, okay? It's what comes as a result of that. And when we do business, we believe that the responsibility starts when it touches the CRM, where that's where the job is done. And for us, it has to begin there. And then we provide that, the retail and the performance training as to how we do business. And that's combination, Jim, requires real work. And so we do find ourselves engaging a number of groups outside of our own who really want what we have. But when we say to them, you won't do it, it's not being curt or short or anything like that. We just know that this is going to require things that are going to make you very uncomfortable, because you're going to have to put your standards up to a place that you may have people that defect from that. Mm-hmm. Right? That's disruptive. Some people don't have the stomach for that.
You got some friends here now. Chris Kelly, you know him?
Chris Kelly. How are you, Chris? Happy New Year.
Okay, got Nathalie
Godoy, sure. Yeah.
Danny Mishler, Derek Kenner, and then back to Aaron Barfield. A lot of Erich Gail fans in the audience.
Wow, I'm just grateful and blessed again for the relationships that allow for that. So thank you, Jim.
Well, I remember the appointment setting process when I was a salesperson before I even became a manager.
Right.
You would go to the desk and the manager said, "Get them in."
Right. Exactly.
How? Get them in.
Right. That was training back when.
Yeah,
here's the phone book. Go sell a car or pick up your check at the end of the day. That was the old school training method.
Get me a write-up and a check.
Right. Or go get your check because we're done. Right. Yeah.
Oh, golly. When I first got in the car business, and that was 1976, they threw me in a room with a bunch of Jackie B. Cooper beta tapes,
right,
and said, "Don't come out till you're trained."
Yeah.
Now, the Cardinelli philosophy, And you said something earlier. You are a Christ-centered organization.
Correct.
You wear that proudly. You don't beat the drum, but you're there. Can you hear me, Eric?
Are you still there?
I believe I am. Am I?
Yeah, you're back. Okay.
Okay. I don't know what that was.
Well, I want to touch on that, Jim, because being a Christ-centered organization or a God-first company it's not doctrine. It is not that we are not Christian in our faith. However, it is not that you have to be a Christian or that you must believe something in which to be a member of our family. What we want people to know is that the nucleus of our heart is loving, open, and gracious. And whatever you believe, we want you to know that that is a relationship that we will honor. Meaning, I think it's incorrect, and this happens to be a personal view and something I feel very strongly about. I think it's very self-righteous for people to have an opinion one way or the other on someone's personal faith. It's your own faith. It's what you believe. Okay? How could I possibly have an opinion about that one way or the other? However, the truth of it is, if you have a relationship spiritually, fill in the blank, okay? Wherever, however, with whomever, right? We want to honor that. We do honor that. And we want people to know that whatever your belief system, that having that type of a light in our heart is something that's very important for us. And we want people to feel very comfortable that as a member of our family, that you are loved and cared for as family.
Personally, I am a Christian. I profess Christianity. I'm not the poster boy for the Methodist religion by any means.
Right.
You wouldn't hold me up as a prime example. But one thing I know, and I would say Chick-fil-A is another example.
Sure. Yeah.
Of a servant sales relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that in your organization as well. You live your principles. You're genuine about your principles. In our business, I've seen many people that I say have a mouth full of Jesus and a heart full of deceit.
Well, right. And so what does that do then for you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth? I mean, the truth of it is, whether you say it or not is not for really anyone's opinion, right? Yes. If you have a relationship spiritually, embrace that. But you do so at what your own comfort level is, right? So we are very, very, very particular about honoring that relationship that any one person has spiritually with what is in their heart. Okay, what is your why and your purpose?
I'm going back more than the spirituality.
Right.
I'm going back to the ethic behind it, the principles.
Sure.
All 10 of the commandments in reality. Right.
Yeah.
You guys have a high moral standing, a high ethics standing, and I've witnessed that.
Yeah. And we believe, Jim, that we happen to have a 501c3 that we really don't talk about. And there's been some debate over many years as to why we don't talk about it. And I'm going to touch on it ever quickly. And the name of it is called Blessed to Serve. And the reason why we named it Blessed to Serve is because the blessing in your life is found in the service that you give to others. Okay? It feels good to be helpful to people at any point in their life. It feels good. And it feels good for a reason, so that we'll do more of it. And what we have found as an organization is that the forgotten many, sadly, Jim, are the men and women and families that are homeless. Okay? And so we have committed ourselves completely and fully to working with and feeding and clothing and providing homes and job assistance and repairs for their vehicles and anything that we could possibly ever think of in a way to help. And we do that amongst all of our operations every single week. And the number of people that we're able to serve is well into the thousands and thousands a week. But the reason, Jim, why we don't talk about it is because, again, from your heart, the blessing is in the service to others, and we don't want anyone to ever misconstrue where we're coming from in our heart that it has anything to do with being a car dealer, right? that, oh, come to us because we do these really nice things. No, the truth of it is we really enjoy giving of our heart. And we do so in service to the men and women and families that are homeless, but we also do it mindful that our associates get the greatest blessing as well of being of service. So it's very important to us. So thank you for letting me touch on that ever briefly. I appreciate that.
Back to the processes and the procedures. You are just absolutely, and I'm just talking about what I know of you and your organization. I have seen you do 6 battle plan presentations at least.
Yeah, you've been fortunate to let me do a few. Thank you.
Oh, you're my featured speaker once again. I mean, I give you extra time. I put you in the top time slot, and
thank you.
You don't pay for the extra. You just deserve the extra. Well, if that makes good sense, and because you have never delivered the same presentation twice.
Well, we believe that the gifts that we've been afforded, Jim, are because we attend conferences like yours, because we make the commitment to attend, because we get out of our own way, because we're not obsessed with shiny widgets and these shiny systems that are supposed to fix everything for us. And the truth of it is, it's always going to come down to what are we prepared to do. And so when we have a chance to learn from amazing minds, whether it be a conference like yourself or it could be something that is conjunction with dealer groups and multi-franchise forums and things like that. The takeaways, Jim, that we have, when we do something with them and they prove successful, we're happy to give them back. So a lot of the things that that you've been appreciative and I'm grateful for it, the ability to share back with other members of the group, are things that we learned along the way. And we're focused on giving back.
Well, that is absolutely something I admire about you. Just it's been rumored that I might be involved in several secret groups, which totally
rumors
fictitious.
Are
it's
right.
Urban myth or
sure, right?
No such thing. But if such groups did exist, you have been a huge contributor, to the knowledge in those groups that don't exist.
Yeah, they're so non-existent, Jim. I don't even know if I'm a member. So
yeah.
I'll put my hand up.
What's the first rule of Fight Club?
Yeah, exactly. We never talk about it. Right.
Oh, golly. So you're speaking at Internet Battle Plan. Let me do a little commercial here for a second.
Sure, please.
Internet Battle Plan, Teach at the Beach, Internet Battle Plan 25, XXV. Internet Battle Plan, 25th time. This isn't our first rodeo. We got 20 top experts, including Erich Gail. Now, one thing about it, this is the best internet technology marketing, social media, phone skills, SEO, SEM, everything conference. I've got 20 experts handpicked. And yes, some of my sponsors are on stage, but I will tell you this. Nobody has enough money to get on my stage if they don't deliver good content that helps my dealers.
Right, amen.
There's not enough money in the world. There are people throwing throwing big numbers at me to speak at Battle Plan, and I won't let them.
Right.
So I understand. I've got paid sponsors on stage, but they must deliver content.
Sure.
2 days, March 4th and 5th. If somebody would be so kind, Jennifer, to put on the sidebar www.internetbattleplan.com. It's an incredible conference. Dealers and general managers attend free.
Yeah. No
charge. Right on the website. Go sign up. A great. What do you think of the band? Did you hear the band last time we had the band?
I did. I thought they were great, and I love that you managed to get them back again. But Jim, one of the things that I want to compliment you on is the fact that you made a decision, like we made a decision. We made a decision to do things that were not financially motivating. When we said that we would only work with one group in one market, and we will do so confidentially, you can appreciate if a market has 150 dealers in it and we're choosing one, That obviously ensures that we never become this really big organization, say, outside of our automotive group. What you've done is you've made the decision to say that owners and general managers are free. Okay, so you've bypassed the men and women who typically, without a great wince, can easily afford your attendee fee. But what you've said is, I believe that what we provide, the skills that we provide, the amazing and brilliant minds that you assemble to be able to share are of such great value that I will forego that because I need for you to do this. And the truth of it is, I couldn't echo that any louder, Jim. Without the active participation of the leader, many of the things that are wonderful will not see the light of day. The speed
Now
of the leader is the
you
speed of
got
the
it.
pack.
The reason I have dealers and
Yes.
general managers attend my conference at no charge, whether they bring employees or not.
Sure.
It's not contingent on bringing paid people with you.
Correct.
The reason I made it free to dealers and general managers is because your people can learn all of these techniques, all of these ideas, all of these procedures, and go back to the dealership, and they're met with a cool reception. The other managers don't get it.
Correct.
And there's got to be an authority figure there that can help implement the processes they learned.
Correct.
Does that make good sense?
Absolutely, yes. And it is so true, Jim, that with the best intentions, some of the greatest ideas will literally shrivel and be wiped away from the conference table or the writable wall, whatever the case may be, because the individual who's ultimately accountable, the dealer, the general manager, the market president, whatever the case may be, has no direct familiarity with how this is going to work. They weren't there to hear it live. They weren't there to answer the correct.
And I say in the seminars, in the conferences, if you don't implement within 72 business hours, it will never happen.
Wow.
It'll evaporate.
Yeah.
Because other priorities, we juggle priorities in the car business.
Sure.
I have a friend, Dan Thurman, president of the National Speakers Association, who's a world-class juggler.
Okay.
I mean, how did he learn to juggle 5 balls? He tried 6.
Oh, that's actually a good point. I can't juggle, so thanks for this. Thanks for the secret.
Me neither, but the point is, I want people to get good value out of this thing,
right?
And to take back good value. So we've set it up that way.
Yeah.
Because the employees that come, the BDC managers, the sales managers, we even have some F&I managers. A lot of used car managers have signed up for this one,
sure,
which is surprising to me.
Yeah.
Because the people who have signed up for battle plans so far in this particular event, we're kind of heavy in used car managers.
Well, it's because they know in their role and responsibilities that someone from an office like ours or mine or whatever the case may be has said used cars is where we must be absolutely sensational. And I will share with you that from a meeting that we had about this very specific point last week, we need to be better than we were in 2018, and we need to be better than we were starting right this second, because every day that goes by, we know that there are economic challenges. We know that we're facing headwinds in gross, Jim. Used cars and fixed operations are absolutely critical to our organizations. And I hope that people don't misconstrue internet battle plan like this is some kind of a internet only type gathering. This is about being a great operator, a great dealer, taking opportunities that exist and challenging yourself to say, that may be shiny. It may be a pretty tool, for lack of a better word. If I'm prepared to do what it takes to make that fire on all cylinders, then I'm committed to it, right? But when it comes to the used car managers that are attending, they're going to need help. This is going to be a challenge in 2019.
You have just iterated, as opposed to reiterated, something that I say is such a word as iterated. Anyway, you ever see the movie Home Alone?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Right.
You have just iterated what I say often. I say you can grow or you can die, but you cannot stay where you are.
Amen.
You can, and if you don't take the business away from a competitor, that competitor is going to come to my event and learn how to take the business away from you.
Well, one of the other ones, and you're welcome to take this one, because I assure you, I took it from somebody else. Okay, and that is, we can either, and then this is where you fill in the blanks. We can either attend, we can either learn, we can either reach, stretch, grow. We can either be 100% fixed absorbed. We can master our sales process. We can do all these things, or we can make an excuse, but we can't do both. And that's the call to action, I think, that is our responsibility to ensure that we embrace that every day. We will either do the things that are necessary, or we're going to make an excuse, but you can't do both. So which one's it going to be?
Is it going to be an excuse, or is it going to be an action plan?
Right.
And
exactly.
I often say, I have had a fair amount of success as a manager in the car business. I set some records back in the day, and I outperformed the people I competed against.
Right.
Not because I knew so much more than they knew, but because I did so much more than they did. See, we didn't have a knowing problem. We have a doing problem.
Right.
People assume that people don't know what to do. They do know what to do. We trained them. Well, see, training is not the answer. Implementation of training is the answer.
Okay, so you're touching on something that's very important to us. Okay, so you can appreciate that many times people will read about us, or they'll see some nice glowing feature ad on something we've done. And they ask, well, what was so special about that? And the truth of it is, Jim, it always comes down to the basics, the mastery of the basics. Okay, we have not reinvented the wheel, I assure you. What we have figured out how to do is to take things and break them down into their simplest part. So one of the things that you just touched on, it's not necessarily a lack of training, it's lack of implementation. So the truth of it is this. I think many department leaders would benefit from the following thing, and that is to ask yourself, do I love, with my heart, do I love my team enough? Question mark. Because it is not about do what I say because I said to. It's do I love my teams enough to put the standards up, to hold the expectations high, to teach you, to train you, but to not allow you to fail yourself. Let me give you a quick example. We know, because I shared with you the story of what happened to us in 2008 and 2009, okay? That's unfair for us as a manager or a leader to put someone in a position, Jim, where they're going to fail, okay? And here's how we do that. I need you to make your phone calls. I need you to do your follow-up. I need you to say certain things and do certain things and lead from your heart. Well, I can't do that. And then I turn around and say, you know what? It's okay. I'll look the other way. I'll check the little box that says you did it. Don't worry. Just go out and sell me some more cars. But the truth of it is, I just weakened your entire career, because when the market turns and you don't have the skills, or no one's ever put you in a position to be successful, and now we have to make choices, who do you think has to go, Jim? Okay. It's the one that can't develop a business. It's the one who can't lead. It's the one who's never been held accountable to be great. It's not be great because I'm the manager. It's be great because we're a family and I want to ensure that you're successful and I know you can do it. Okay? When you think about that, then when others are struggling, your teams will not struggle because you let people know right up front, we operate at this level. And we're okay if you want to operate below that. You just can't do it here, right? There is an aspiration that comes along with having high standards.
Well, when my son was 6 years old and he was playing t-ball,
right,
I got in so much trouble with the parents. Now, you know me to be outspoken.
No. You're a very quiet man.
Home alone.
Right.
You know me to be outspoken. I said in a parents' meeting one time, little loser kids don't deserve a trophy.
Yeah, this whole trophy because you showed up is, I mean, that really is that's some of the fabric of society coming apart at the seams. I'm rewarded because I showed up on time is, first of all, you got to go back and steal a little bit from Vince Lombardi. And that is, if you're on time, you're late. Okay. If you're early, you're on time, ready to go, right? Showed up. I begin with the end in mind. I'm fully committed. I know what my objective is for the day and I will achieve it. Going back to the point earlier, I'm either going to do fill in the blank or I'm going to make an excuse. And I can't share with you how tragic I think it is. And I'm guilty of it too, Jim. This is my 28th year in the industry. And I'm guilty of the things I'm about to describe to you earlier in my career. Did everyone know their number? I'm not talking about the sales number. Did I know what I was supposed to do today? Did I know down to one thing what was my end result? And a lot of people will say, yeah, go sell a car. The problem with it is that's too vague. Okay. So in our world, we have a different number. Create one verifiable appointment every working day. If you do that, you will be wildly successful. Again, we'll talk about this at Battle Plan because we have a very particular formula that says if you create one appointment per day and you work 22 days in a month, right? Do the math. That's 22 appointments. A certain number will be confirmed. A certain number will show and so on. You'll be a 13, 14, 15 car a month sales associate because you did one thing. You focused your entire day about earning, deserving, selling your time, and creating one verifiable appointment every single day.
Now let's go back to the dark ages when I was a salesperson.
Okay.
I mean, roll back the time machine to 1976.
Right.
78, when I was first getting into this business. Luther Coggin was my dealer.
Okay. Yeah.
I came out of the Coggin organization before it was Asbury, when it really was Coggin.
Right.
And I was the top salesman in the organization, the top salesman to the day I left.
Okay.
And Luther Coggin, and many months I would hit 30. I didn't always hit 30, but I hit 30 sometimes.
Right.
And Luther Coggin says, how do you do that? And to echo what you just said, in my little West Jacksonville redneck way, I told Mr. Coggin, I sell a car every day I show up and 2 on Saturday.
Okay.
Because we're closed on Sunday.
Sure. Yeah.
And we worked every hour the dealership was open. That was the culture of the day.
Right.
Yeah, I was on the B team. Dealership's open, you be here.
Right. Exactly. Well, I often laugh with people. They say the car business, the automotive industry, what's that like? What's retail like? And I say, well, you work half a day. And they go, wow, that's really exciting. And I go, well, take 24 hours in the day, split it in half, and it's 12 hours a day. You work half a day. Right.
Yeah,
that'll usually call the herd fairly quick.
Well, I met my wife.
Some fun with that.
I met my wife when I sold her a car. You've heard that story.
Yeah, I have.
She was an up, and the only rule we had in those days was book the deal first.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, where else were you going to meet women?
Sure.
Working those hours.
Yeah, I think if I remember the story correctly, that you might have put a ton of gross on that deal and then spent the rest of a few years paying that one. I
made $3,200 front side gross on my wife's car.
Right.
Which was only a $13,000 car.
Yeah.
She bought it was a 1982 Thunderbird Elan. I made $3,200 front side gross and made every payment myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a good man for that, Jim.
Well, let's get something important achieved here.
All right.
How do we get in touch with the Cardinelli Zimot program? If somebody wants to hire your company, services, your expertise,
sure.
How do they get in touch with you?
All right. Well, then at this particular point, I would give out my own personal email address. And as unrealistic as people might think that is, it's that we truly value the relationship so much that I want to get an idea of who you are, what your objectives are. There's no point for us to go through this whole long drawn out discussion. If people are looking for something that is readily available, where they just want to flip things on and off like a light switch, we would not be a fit. We would not be an appropriate partner.
That would be eGale at
Cardinale, which is CARDINALE hyphen group.com.
hyphen's like a dash, right?
Correct.
Okay. Just look at the picture on the screen. Is that what it looks like?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, so that's how they can contact you if they want more information, a demonstration, a conversation.
Sure. Yeah.
That's where they'll initiate it. You know, that's the email before the phone call.
Correct. And ultimately what we do is we have to do a few things first. Number one, we have to look at the market in which someone is looking, even potentially, to see if it's even available. Mm-hmm. Because the truth of it is, Jim, if we're already serving someone in that particular market, they could be a single point store or they could have multiple rooftops. It does not matter for us. If we have a relationship in one market and we typically put, a 15, 20 plus mile in every direction sphere around the stores, then we would encourage them well, and we wouldn't be able to take any further steps. If the market is available, the initial discussion is really, what are your objectives? And if it's, I need to sell more cars and I need more leads, that's a surefire way to say, well, fortunately, there's 1,000 providers that can do that kind of stuff, right? We want to help people focus on their investments to drive specific direct actions, get out of the lead mentality.
You're right? Out of the lead mentality. Now,
correct.
Remember Alec Baldwin, Bad Leads, Jack Lemmon?
Right, yeah.
Well, there is such a thing as bad leads.
Well, when you buy them,
yes,
they're bad leads. I mean, how many times have they been resold, right?
One thing that they don't advertise in the lead selling business is that there are 3% leads and 18% probability leads.
Okay.
And the lead providers know they're selling you a 3% or an 18% lead.
I see.
I mean, just depending on where that lead originated. Was it an intent to buy lead or was it signing up for a raffle ticket?
Right.
So
yeah, from 6 months ago. Yeah.
Right. So bear in mind, I have seen so many dealers cancel a lead provider, and all of a sudden the leads started producing that weren't producing.
All right. Amazing what happens. We pulled the little veil back, and now all of a sudden, to Alec Baldwin's point, these are the good leads, right?
They started dumping a bunch of those 18% leads in there, trying to keep the dealer's business that canceled them when they were previously feeding them 3% leads.
Right.
So there are such a thing as bad leads. So you're not in the lead business. You are in the business generation business.
We're in the direct action business. And what I mean by that is direct actions are something that you can quantify. Okay. The direct action is a telephone call on a particular line that feeds into the CRM and should have some associated disciplines behind it that result in an appointment. Okay. A chat conversation or a form fill, right? But all of those things, Jim, you can see, okay? I do believe, I don't think it's a great percentage, but I do believe that there's walk-in business. I believe that, okay? Unattributed, never called the store, just walked in. I don't believe that anyone should ever bet their future on that type of business. We believe that's a bonus. That's gold. If you're blessed in a market that has people who literally just come in, hallelujah, but you can't bet your future on it. You just don't know how quickly that kind of stuff goes away. So the truth of it is, what you can and should invest in are things that you can see, which is the direct action model, right? If they come into my CRM, right, then what did we do as a result of that? And here's where, when you look at lead mentality stores, okay? Jim, we spend, just making it up, we spend $85,000 a month in marketing. We sell a lot of cars. That's great. We get 1,000 leads into our CRM, and we have 2 people that work on them. And I would just, right out of the gate, I would say, wow. You have 2 people that are standing at the middle of an hourglass, just having leads pouring into them from the CRM. You couldn't possibly close anywhere close to the deserving. Right.
Trying to drink out of a fire hose.
Exactly. So again, our belief system is uncomfortable for a lot of people when we would turn around and say, you can cut 800 of that away, and you will sell more cars out of the 200 or the 300, always done appropriately to how many human associates you have working with your clients, right? But it's the quality, the care of the conversation. What are we doing with the money that we've invested? Are we prepared to do it? Okay. And if we're not, then you do need to just buy as many opportunities as you can and keep your fingers crossed and hope you get great walk-in business and sell a bunch of cars. It's just for us, that's not
there is such a thing as walk-in business, but you can't bank on it.
No. And the thing about it is, when you consider that, 90+% of everything that we do, right, is one touch away, right? Were we stimulated digitally somehow? Was it a byproduct of what we or you as a particular dealer have done? Sure it is. But again, because they never called, never wrote in, never postured themselves, we don't know what their pathway was. Right?
Well, so
it's plus business.
Oh, there are people out there professing that they had something to do with your sale. The biggest bogus thing that's popped up in the business in the last 2 years, attribution.
Right.
What a bogus word.
We used to say that word, Jim. We really did think we had it figured out. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I would share with you that there are ways to do it. It's usually after the sale.
It's a real science, Eric. It is a real science. But the people that are selling it to you are bogus.
Right. I guess my point is
there's some real sideshow medicine shows out there selling attribution, and they're on payroll for the people that they're doing the surveys about.
Right. Exactly. I guess my point is that attribution, no attribution. The truth of it is, if they weren't in your CRM prior to arrival, there we would consider someone a real, truly unattributed walk-in. You could always hope that it had something to do with how well we merchandise, the pricing, the pictures, our website, all this kind of stuff, right? But that's always going to be, in our view, that's plus business. That's bonus business because you didn't know they were coming, right? Let's build based on what we know we can do. And then when someone shows up, now it's just over and above everything else that we would already built.
Result.
Exactly.
But see, one thing that you have touched on, when I train managers today, we still have to pay attention to merchandising the dealership,
Absolutely, yes. Amen.
I go to dealerships all the time, and I see bird nests growing under the tires. I see,
right? Exactly. Yeah.
They haven't redisplayed. They haven't moved the cars. They haven't done anything. They've got the trucks on the front line, and trucks are a second line vehicle.
Sure.
We're screaming big sale, and other than the gorilla on the roof, there's nothing around that says big sale.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, Eric, I think we've accomplished a lot. We've been on an hour.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that hour just went.
It did. And it's always a pleasure, Jim. It really is a pleasure to be able to work with you and your lovely wife, Debbie, and to support the Internet Battle Plan and the men and women and the dealers and the associates and the managers that attend. So thank you very much for that, Jim. It's a pleasure.
Well, it's a pleasure to know you and to be your friend. I mean, other than just associates, we've become truly friends, and I appreciate that. Speaking of friends, James Klaus is on the sidelines.
Hey, James, we often joke, my middle name, Jim, happens to be Klaus. And I met, what's great is I met James Klaus at one of your events. I have a fairly good memory. It was the Super System.
The Sales Management Super Conference in Seattle.
Yes, it was. And I just found James to be just such a great guy. I believe he was the GSM of a store in the middle of the United States back then.
Montana, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to disclose it. I happen to know
the
exact name. I just didn't want to say it. But anyway, so James' last name is Klaus, and I shared with him that my middle name was Klaus. And I just, from there on after, we've been fast friends and brothers from another mother.
I love James Klaus in a brotherly way. Yeah,
right.
He is a good friend. Danny Mishler, James Klaus, Eddie Gilbert's aboard. Robert Pierce is here. we've got a great audience today. I hate to cut this thing off, but you know, about an hour is about everything social media can do.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
Okay, I got your email address on the board. If you want to get in touch with Erich Gail, Cardinelli Group, ZMod, all of his subsidiaries, process driven, one client per market. If you're fortunate enough to be the client they have in that market, you are going to excel. Take me as a witness testimonial.
Well,
okay,
thank you.
Erich, take care, big guy.
Jim, thank you. Always a pleasure. Have a great rest of your day.
Stick around after the broadcast.